Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Sticky Rubbers. This channel is going to be purely dedicated to my love of all things motorbike related, whether that be riding them, repairing them, restoring them, anything two-wheeled. I'm going to just dump videos on here for later on when I'm too old. So at least I can sit back and enjoy and remember the good old days. Primarily, I'm a bit of a Suzuki fan myself. Started off with Yamaha way back in the day. Got my first GSXR, never looked back. But I work on all sorts of bikes, but primarily my collection is Suzuki's. So let's have a look and see what bikes I've got. So first up, I've got my trusty 1999 GSX 1300Rs Hayabusa. I've had this bike 3 to 4 years. I love her. They're a love or hate bike, and I'm certainly falling in the love camp. She's done about 22,000 miles. I do give her a bit of a hard time. I've had 3 or 4 years, I think it is now. Last winter, I rebuilt the forks, rebuilt the brakes, new discs, rebuilt the master cylinders, etc., etc. Gave her a damn good service. She was, needing one. New chain sprockets, etc., etc. And yeah, she's going lovely. She did let me down once this summer. I had the problem with this year bike. If the foam sock's missing off the external fuel pump, in hot weather it can the fuel pump can overheat. And I had that. It was only once, but I fitted an uprated fuel pump in there, albeit still an external one, rather than changing it to the 2001 and over pump that's inside the tank. But she's running fine now. So this winter, it's time for the rear end. I've got a shock to go in there, new clutch. I'm going to change the swing arm bearings, the suspension linkage bearings, etc., etc. But no, I don't want her off the road for long, because as I say, if we get any reasonable weather, then I'll be back out on her. And then next up, we've got another 1999 GSX 1300 Hayabusa. This is the Garage Queen. Had her just under a year. I love this bike, and it's in really, really good condition. There's hardly a scratch on her. Done probably, I think it's just over 12,500 miles, maybe 12,600 miles. She had her problems when I first got her. She hadn't been used much, so because of that, the tank had rusted up inside a little bit, which had been sucked through and blocked the fuel pump filters, injectors, the usual things. So I had the fuel system apart. I've got an uprated pump to go in that, which I will do over some period this winter. And apart from that, really, she's good to go. There's a few things I want to clean up, but apart from that, she's good to go. She's actually fitted with a centre stand, which is actually quite unusual for the Hayabusa. But I'll leave that on there for now and see how we get on. That's the Garage Queen. Rather nice she is. Again, I mean, the Hayabusa's a love or hate bike as it is, and this colour scheme is certainly one to divide opinions. I'm sure you know that this was only available in this colour for the 1999. This was probably one of the first bikes in the country. First registered April 99. 2 owners from New, both in the same family, a father and a son, and the son was a lot older than I was. And I've got every single receipt for that bike going back to when the bloke popped into the shop and put the deposit down on it. So out of all the bikes I've got, this is the one I think would probably worth the most money in the long term. But she ain't going anywhere for a long time yet. I want to enjoy her. So now we move on. This is my freshly restored 1985 Suzuki GSX-R 750. long story short, this is a project I started with my father back in 2012, 2013 maybe. It was the bike of my dreams when I was a young teenager. Was too young to have one when they first came out. Had all the posters on the wall, etc, etc. And always wanted one. And then by the time I passed my test, I couldn't afford the insurance. The Japanese domestic model, we didn't pay a great deal of money for it, but we did throw some money at it. I don't think there's anything on this bike that hasn't been either replaced or restored. Even down to the fact it came with non-genuine fairing screws, etc, etc. The dials were all faded, so those dials and that came apart. Genuine windshield for it, which I'm sure you know if you know these bikes. That is not cheap on its own. I think I costed this up the other day, and for the fairing, the screws holding on the fairing and the trim around the edge, believe it or not now, that'd be £517 I think it came in that. Luckily, we bought the screen back in the early days of the project, and we didn't pay that much for it, but I mean we still paid over £200 for it. But the unfortunate thing about this bike is I started restoring it with my dad, and he passed away 2.5 years ago, so he never actually got to see it finished, which is a real shame because he'd have loved it. A couple of little things I still want to do on it. The clutch is dragging a little bit, and Suzuki happened to have them this month on special offer, so I've bought a complete new clutch assembly for it. I need to fit the trim underneath the tank when I've stopped messing around with it. It's ready now to go in for the MOT, and once that's happened, if it goes through all right, which I'm sure it will, it'll be out for a shakedown ride, and then once that's finished, I'll put the lower fairings back on. I don't want to put the lower fairings back on and then have to take them off and that again. But this bike, I mean, I've got other videos on this bike at the moment on the channel. Have a look. This was always the bike I wanted, and I've got one now, and couldn't be happier with it. So skulking in the corner here, I've got a 1984/1985 GSXR 400. Some of the purists don't like it because they were never officially available outside Japan, and it upsets them when they find out that the first GSXR was actually water-cooled. I had one of these back in 1992 because I couldn't afford the insurance or anything bigger, and the parts were really expensive if it went wrong. But I mean, it's just such a great fun bike to ride. You don't really need brakes on it. You just sort of like, you scream around everywhere at sort of 14,000 RPM, or 12,000. A bit of a sorry state, this one. It's only done 14,500 kilometres. So not many miles at all, but it's obviously had a bit of a hard life. It's not going to be a full-on restoration as such. I'm not going to go sort of trying to search elusive new old stock components and that for it. I'll do whatever I've got to do, tidy it up, and I think I'm just going to ride that one a little bit, to be honest. There's no money at any point in this bike. That bike's just you buy it because you want one, really. Luckily, since 92, when I last had one, eBay's come along, and there's actually quite a good supply of parts out there now for them, and obviously you got your Yahoo auctions, etc., where I can get the parts for it from Japan. So I'm looking forward to that. That might be one of the next restorations I actually tackle, because it will only be a quick one, get it working and a tart up. And then next to that, got one of the another sad looking slabby 1987 GSXR 1100H. It's filthy, this bike, but it's actually a lot better than probably the camera's showing. It's got issues. I've got complete new freshly painted bodywork for it. I've got some of the brackets already powder coated, but this will be a full nut and bolt restoration on this one, to go with the 750. This one's done just over 34,000 miles. Again, it's all genuine exhausts. It's got all the bits that are starting to get hard to get hold of now. So yeah, I look forward to that. Hopefully I'll do some videos on that one, and I'm sure there's quite a bit of love out there for old slabbies. And tucked in the back here, I've got another 1987 GSXR 1100H. Now this one looks like it's been left underwater for 20 years. In my last house, I didn't have a garage or a workshop, and all I had at the end of the garden was a damp, leaky wooden shed. And unfortunately, that spent 5 years living in there. It wasn't a great bike when I got it. So that is actually going to have everything. That's going to have a full engine rebuild. But I'm thinking with this one, I might turn it into a sort of period road legal track bike, but sort of bring it sort of up into at least the 90s with some different forks, rear shock, different brakes, just general upgrades. And then I'll probably put away, it won't be original bodywork on that one, I don't think, although I have got original bodywork for it. It'll be an aftermarket exhaust, sort of fiberglass bodywork, and just make a bit of a track bike out of it, or a bit of a saying I don't mind thrashing around. They can't all be restored nice and shiny. Also in there, I've actually got a couple of other bikes of other people's underneath this pile of cloth here. I've got a friend's 1985 GSXR 750. I've also over there got a 1990 covered up 1990 Yamaha Virago XV 535, which I bought really cheap as a little project while I'm on furlough. As usual, it was and as just about every bike I buy, it needed the sort of like fuel system, the carbs and that, the tank cleaned out, carb rubbers have perished, things like that, general service. But she actually goes really well now. She's all MOT'd, everything. She's all ready to go, and it's not my style of bike, the Virago, to be honest. So I bought it cheap. My sister had one when she started riding, so I just thought it'd be a little bit of fun while I was off work. And then next to that, you can't see it because again it's covered up. But I'm also looking after somebody else's KTM 1290 Super Duke. It's a bit of a beast. I'm going to make sure I get out on that when the weather's nice. So there you go. That's a quick look around the workshop to see what I've currently got. As I say, first up this winter anyway, now I've got the 750 out of the way for now. I'm going to get some of the work done on the Black Hayabusa over Christmas. I always like to have that one ready to go, just in case, and I don't mind riding that out in the rough weather. So she will get some love. So got a rear conditioned rear shock. So I'll get that fitted, at which time the shock that's in there will be reconditioned, and I'll have that lying around for a later date. I've got swing arm bearings to replace. That kit from Wiimoto's, good little kit. Quite surprised when I opened this up, but I don't know if you can see that. It's actually brimming with genuine spacers, etc. So it looks like their kits are actually all bearings, but certainly in that kit, they're genuine Suzuki spacers, etc. And this is the kit for the rear suspension linkage. Exact same thing, all bearings, and then genuine spacers. So that won't be a bad job. That'll be a nice little easy job to start with. Obviously got things I need, like the chain of sprockets on that's actually quite new. It's only just over a year old, not many miles. So I'm not going to cut the chain off completely. So I've purchased another link. So I'll have that chain off, clean it up, and then refill it with a new Master Link. And then the final job I think for that this winter, apart from a bit more polishing, is I got another clutch for it. This summer I felt the clutch wasn't great. It was all right. It's not too bad, but it just feels a bit tired. So what I'm gonna do is replace the clutch on that, rebuild the slave cylinder, which I didn't actually do last year, and done the master cylinder, and see if that improves things, and just generally check out the clutch, make sure everything there's good. So that's it. That's the initial plan for what work I'm going to be doing on the bikes. So thank you for watching so far, and please like, subscribe if you can, if you want to, and the next video will be more interesting. It'll be me attacking the bike with the toolkit. Okay, cheers guys.